everyone, this is Fides and welcome back to my educational YouTube channel. So yes, today we will continue our discussion in microbiology, and yes, we're now in chapter 2. So for today's lesson, we will be discussing the bacterial form and their cell structures. So sit back and learn. Okay guys, let's start the discussion by giving the description of bacteria or bacteria. So what are these? So bacteria, guys, these are single-celled prokaryotic microscopic organisms. So bacteria are prokaryotes. Di ba meron tayong dalawa? The eukaryotes and the prokaryotes. Now, what's the difference between the two? Di ba kung natatandaan pa natin sa ating biology class dati? If we say prokaryotes, these are organisms na walang true nucleus. On the other hand, if we say eukaryotes, these are organisms, guys, na meron silang nucleus. They have true nucleus. So that's the difference between the two. And aside from that, about their cell division, prokaryotes, guys, di ba? Their cell division is through the process of binary fission, while the eukaryotes is through what? Mitosis. So yun yung difference nila. And again, the bacteria or bacterias are under prokaryotes. They are prokaryotes. For anything else pala, I want to clarify something para hindi kayo ma-confuse, okay? Why is it we are using, or bakit tayo gumagamit ng term na bacteria as singular? Where in fact, that is a plural, diba? Because bacterium is the singular. Bakit kaya? Okay, ganito siya, guys. If we are using formal speech or writing, bacterium is the singular and the bacteria is the plural. But if we are using ordinary speech or writing, bacteria is singular and bacterias, or simply bacteria, is considered as plural. Okay? So, I hope hindi kayo ma-confuse. So, ganun. Now, I told you earlier na we will be discussing bacterial form and bacterial cell structure. So first, ang i-discuss natin ngayon is ang bacterial form. Now guys, in the bacterial form, I divided it into two categories. Okay, so first is according to shape and the other one is according to arrangement. So let's talk about according to shapes first. Now, on our previous discussion, di ba? Ano nga yung sinabi ko? Sino ngayon nakapagpangalan sa tatlong uri ng bacteria? Yes, we have Anton van Leeuwenhoek, di ba? Ano nga yung tatlo? You have the cocci, bacilli, and spirilla. The bacterial form, according to shape, or their fundamental shapes, we have three. So first, for the bacilli, guys, it's rod shape. Again, for bacilli, rod shape. For cocci, it's spherical or round shape. And for the spirilla, it's spiral or comma shape. Okay? So yun lang yung tatlong fundamental shape ng bacteria. You have yung sa bacilli, rod shape, cocci, round shape, and spirilla, spiral shape or comma shape. Now guys, dati kasi nung nag-aaral pa ako during college, nung bago ko pa inaaral yung microbiology, nako-confuse ako minsan between cocci and bacilli. I don't know sa ibang students, pero ako nako-confuse ako dati. Although spirilla, hindi ako nako-confuse kasi spirilla, yung shape niya is nasa pangalan na mismo, spiral. Pero yung cocci at bacilli, dati talaga guys, nako-confuse ako. Maybe yung iba hindi, siguro ako lang. So, may iniisip ako, or may hindi ko siya matatawag na technique, pero parang ganun na, para hindi ko siya mapag-exchange yung dalawa. Okay, so ganito. Di ba bacilli is rod shape? If you say rod shape guys, di ba pahaba? Rod shape. So, parang pahaba siya. Now, so if you see sa word na bacilli, you have ILLI, di ba? So, yung ILLI sa bacilli, they are all mahahaba. Okay? So, rod shape is mahaba. ILLI and bacilli are mahabas. So, that's bacilli. That's rod shape. So, ganun. Ganun ko siya nire-remember dati. Nung nako-confuse pa ako, pero ngayon syempre hindi na. After nun, hindi na, of course. And for the cocci naman, guys, di ba cocci shape is spherical or round shape? Now, kung titignan mo sa word na cocci, you have letter O between COC sa cocci. So, yun. Yung shape na round shape, may O sa cocci, which is round. So, yun. Cocci. So, ganun ko siya inaalala, guys. So, depende na sa inyo. So, sa mga nako-confuse pa, ganun na, guys. Ganun na lang yung i-remember nyo para hindi kayo malito sa dalawa. Okay? So, ganun. So, those are the three fundamental shape of bacteria. You have the rod shape for bacilli, the round shape for cocci, and the spiral shape for spirilla. Okay, now, guys, let's proceed to the arrangement of the bacteria. So, bacterial form to arrangement. So, dito, guys, is dinivide ko siya into four parang categories or subcategories, ganun. Kasi sa books, sa other books, kasi sunod-sunod na siya lahat as one na. So, para hindi kayo malito, so i-divide natin siya into apat na parang categories. So, through their arrangement, okay? So, first category, guys, is cocci. Para sa cocci, di ba yung shape kanina is cocci? So, we have for the cocci shape. So, ano yung mga arrangement under cocci? Guys, ganito since we are in the category of cocci, sa arrangement niya, so lahat ng mga bacteria dito is porococci form. So, mga bilog-bilog lahat sila, okay? Round bacteria sila lahat. Now, nagmamatter lang or nagdi-differ lang sila sa arrangement. Okay, first is the diplococci. Now, what do you mean by diplococci? Guys, sa pangalan pa lang niya, may prefix na di. So, it means to say, dalawa. Okay? So, it occurs, so bacteria here occurs in pairs, okay? Nag-occurs in pairs ang mga bacteria sa diplococci. So, kagaya nito. So, ganyan. Example of diplococci, guys, is Neisseria gonorrhoeae. So, example of diplococci yan, Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Second arrangement under cocci, guys, you have the staphylococci. Now, staphylococci, guys, these are cocci occur in chain. So, cocci occur in chain. Now, example of this is the Staphylococcus aureus. Okay, next, guys, is the streptococci. So, sa streptococci, guys, bacteria here, or bacteria here, occur in cluster. Okay, dito na naman, guys, baka ma-confuse na naman kayo, okay? Or, I mean, hindi ma-confuse, baka mapag-exchange nyo na naman, or malito na naman kayo, kasi sino si cluster occurs in cluster, sino si occurs in chain. Diba? Kasi mayroon tayong Staphylococci and Streptococci. So, sinabi ko sa inyo, ang Staphylococci, they occur in chain, while the Streptococci occur in clusters. So, ganito, guys, para ang palatandaan nyo na lang. Ganito yung sa akin, guys, ha. So, mga meron ng palatandaan, okay, good for you. Pero sa mga wala pa, baka makatulong to. So, para hindi nyo siya malimutan, sino si cluster, sino si chain. So, guys, yung sa Staphylococci, guys, sa word na Staphylococci, you have letter H. Okay? Staphylococci. Now, guys, sa chain, you have letter H. Okay? You have letter H sa word na chain. So, pag occur in chain, wala nang iba kundi Staphylococci. So, ganun. Para hindi nyo siya makalimutan or mapag-exchange. How about Streptococci? Di ba yung sa Streptococci? Occurs in cluster. Now, sa Streptococci, guys, you have the letter R. Okay? Sa Streptococci, may letter R. So, word na cluster, you also have letter R. So, para hindi nyo makalimutan, pag cluster, Streptococci. Because you have letter R sa Streptococci and sa cluster. And pag chain, it's Staphylococci because you have letter H sa chain, so as sa Staphylococci. Okay, I hope that can help you. Yun, ganun ako, guys. Ganun ko kasi minimemorize yung mga bacteria minsan. Pag mahihirap kasi, minsan nahirapan ako magme-memorize. So yan, gumagawa na lang ako ng parang clues para mabilis siya memorize. Okay? So ganun. Again, pag occurs in chain, Staphylococci. Occurs in clusters, Streptococci. Okay, guys, now let's have the number 4 arrangement under cocci. So we have the tetrad. So sa pangalan pa lang niya, guys, tetra. So 4. So cocci here occurs or occur in group of 4. Okay? Group of 4. So 4. So kagaya nito. Ito yung mukha niya. So ganyan. Ganyan ang tetrad. Example of tetrad is Micrococcus luteus. Now, guys, lastly, the arrangement under cocci, we have the Sarcina. So, Sarcina, guys, this occurs in cube-like structure. So, kagaya nito, cube-like structures or packets of 8. So, ganyan siya. So, para siyang sumasapaw. So, kaya tinatawag siyang packets of 8. So, yun, guys. So, yun lang yung arrangement under cocci or under round-shaped bacteria. So, yun. You have the diplococci, Staphylococci, Streptococci, tetrad, and Sarcina. Now, let's proceed, guys, to the bacilli. Okay? Let's proceed to the bacilli. For the bacilli arrangement, guys, or the rod-shaped arrangement of bacteria, we have, actually, tatlo lang to. So, number 1, the bacillus. So, bacillus is a single-celled bacilli. Number 2 arrangement, guys, under bacilli, or the rod-shape, we have the Streptobacillus. So, Streptobacillus, guys, sa pangalan pa lang niya. Di ba yung kanina, yung Streptococcus, yung mga cocci that occur in cluster. Now, for the Streptobacillus, of course, bacillus or bacilli that occur in cluster also. So, bacilli or bacillus in cluster. So, that is Streptobacillus. So, kagaya nito. So, yes. So, that is Streptobacillus. And now, pangatlo, and lastly, for the arrangement of bacilli, we have the Coccobacillus. So, Coccobacillus, so it looks like cocci. So, bacillus that looks like cocci. So, that is Coccobacillus. Okay, yun lang yung tatlong arrangement ng bacilli. You have the bacillus, Streptobacillus, and the Coccobacillus. Now, guys, let's have the spiral. So, in the spiral arrangement, guys, so nagdedepende siya either sa Vibrio, Spirillum, or Spirochete. So, first, for the Vibrio, it's a curve or comma-shaped rod. So, yun yung mukha niya, kagaya nito. So, that is Vibrio. Second, we have the Spirillum. So, for the Spirillum, it's a thick, rigid spiral. Okay? Thick, rigid spiral. And lastly, for the Spirochete, it's thin, flexible spiral. So, yun yung difference nila. So, tingnan mo. Ito yung spiralum, and ito naman yung spirochete. So, yung spiralum, guys, is thick, rigid spiral, while the spirochete is thin, flexible spiral. So, yun lang, guys, yung sa ating spiral. So, we are done with the cocci arrangement, bacilli arrangement, and the spiral arrangement. And now, we have the other arrangement. We have 2 additional. So, first, guys, is the palisades, okay? The palisades. So, here, guys, yung bacteria or organisms, they tend to place themselves side by side, okay? They tend to place themselves side by side. So, kagaya nito. So, ganyan. Example of palisades formation or arrangement. Example niyan, ang mga bacteria na nagpo-form ng ganyan palisade. Example, we have the Corynebacterium dipterae. So, yun. And lastly, guys, we have the Chinese character or the snapping arrangement. Chinese character arrangement or the snapping arrangement. Here naman, guys, organism tend to bend at the point of division. So, yan yung sa snapping arrangement or Chinese character arrangement. So, yung organism, nagbe-bend siya at the point of division. Example of this, again, is Corynebacterium dipterae. So, guys, yun lang ang about sa bacterial form. So, we have the fundamental shapes of bacteria and the arrangement of bacteria. So, if you have some questions, so, just comment down below. And next, is pwede ko siyang i-discuss before the next discussion, okay? Or pwede ko siyang sagutan before the next discussion. Proceed to the last topic, which is the cell structure of bacteria. So, sa mga cell structures na naman tayo ng bacteria. Now, guys, this one is important, okay? Napaka-importante ng mga cell structures ng bacteria. So, I hope na i-memorize niyo siya or aralin, okay? So, first structure, guys, we have the cytoplasmic membrane. Cytoplasmic membrane is also called a cell membrane. So, it is composed of phospholipids and proteins. Yes. Now, there are different functions of this cytoplasmic membrane. Okay, now let's have the functions of cytoplasmic membrane. So first is for selective permeability and transport of solutes. What do you mean by selective permeability? Guys, selective permeability is a process wherein it only selects certain molecules to enter or exit from the cell. Okay? So, pinipili lang niya. So, yung function ng, first na function ng cell membrane is pinipili lang niya yung mga molecules na papapasukin niya or palalabasin niya sa cell, sa loob ng cell. Okay? So, siniselect niya lang niya. Okay? So, same lang din yan sa tao, guys. 'Di ba? Pinipili lang din natin yung mga taong pinapapasok natin sa buhay natin or yung mga taong nililet go natin. So, ganun yun siya. Ganun yung selective permeability. Second function, guys, we have the electron transport and oxidative phosphorylation. So, what do you mean by oxidative phosphorylation? Oxidative phosphorylation, guys, this is a metabolic pathway in which, guys, yung cell ay gagamit siya ng enzyme to oxidize nutrients na kung saan naman maglalabas ng stored chemical energy para makapag-produce ng anong product. You have the ATP, the adenosine triphosphate. Di ba familiar yung oxidative phosphorylation sa biochemistry? Yes, nasa biochemistry yan. So, yun yung isa sa function ng ating cell membrane. So, yun yung isang sa function ng ating cell membrane, oxidative phosphorylation. But take note, guys, oxidative phosphorylation only for aerobic species, okay? Aerobic microorganisms. Nag-oxidative phosphorylation sa mga aerobes lang, okay? So the next function, guys, or the last function is the excretion of hydrolytic enzymes. Example of hydrolytic enzymes, guys, ay inyong CC3, di ba? You have the lipase, the amylase, the protease. So yung ating cell membrane or the cytoplasmic membrane, tumutulong siya for the excretion of those enzymes, hydrolytic enzymes. Okay, so those are the functions of cytoplasmic membrane. You have for the transport of solute and selective permeability, electron transport and oxidative phosphorylation for aerobic organisms or aerobes for aerobic organisms, and lastly, it's for the excretion of hydrolytic enzymes. So next, guys, let's have the second structure, which is the nucleus. So prokaryotic nucleus, guys, lacks of nuclear membrane and mitotic apparatus, and DNA as nucleoids or chromatin bodies can be detected by light microscopy with fulgen staining. Now, ang importante lang dito, guys, is yung fulgen staining. Anong stain na ginagamit to detect a DNA, okay, sa bacteria. Of course, in the form of nucleoids or chromatin bodies. So, pag itatanong kung anong stain ang ginagamit dyan, we have the fulgen stain or the fulgen staining. Okay? So, never forget that. Now, let's have the third structure, which is the cytoplasmic granules, also known as the metachromatic granules or the volutin granules. Now, guys, cytoplasmic granules is the accumulation of food reserve. Okay? The accumulation of food reserve. So, ang importante, ito guys, importante. Yung masusunod yung nasasabihin, dapat i-memorize nyo to kasi ito yung pinaka-importante na part. Bakit? Kasi possible na lalabas to sa board examination. Itong mga bacteria na to at yung mga pangalan ng kanilang cytoplasmic granules or metachromatic granules. So, first guys is Corynebacterium. So, Corynebacterium guys, ang tawag sa kanyang metachromatic granules is the Babes Ernst bodies. So, please don't forget that. Again, pag Corynebacterium, ang tawag sa kanyang metachromatic granules is Babes Ernst bodies. So, buti pa siya may babes. Joke lang. So, yun guys. Second, you have the Mycobacterium. For the Mycobacterium, guys, ang tawag sa kanyang metachromatic granules or kanyang granules is Much granules. So, huwag kalimutan kasi Mycobacterium starts with letter M, Much granules starts with letter M. So, Much granules, Mycobacterium. Number 3 guys, or next is you have the Nocardia and Actinomyces. For the Nocardia and Actinomyces, ang tawag sa granules nila is sulfur granules. Again, for Nocardia and Actinomyces, sulfur granules. And lastly, you have for Pasturella, Bordetella, and Yersinia pestis. Guys, specifically Yersinia pestis kasi meron tayong Yersinia intercolitica, which is yung Yersinia intercolitica, wala siyang granules, okay? Yung Yersinia pestis lang. So, ang tawag sa granules ng Yersinia pestis, Bordetella, and Pasturella is bipolar bodies. Again, bipolar bodies. So, please guys, don't forget that and memorize those things, okay? Memorize nyo yun kasi possible na lumalabas yan sa board exam. So guys, let's have the next cell structure of bacteria, which is the spores or endospores. So, very familiar, di ba? Kasi nga sa previous discussion natin or lesson, na discuss natin or nalaman natin that the one who discovered endospores ay si Ferdinand Julius Kohn. Now, what are these spores or endospores? So, these are highly resistant structures, guys, produced by the aerobic genus Bacillus and anaerobic genus Clostridium. Okay? Sila yung nagpuproduce dyan. Which can withstand adverse environmental conditions of dryness, heat, and poor nutrient supply. So, dito guys, again, uulitin ko. Nasabi ko na to sa previous lesson na, di ba, ito yung pinaka-unique na structure ng mga bacteria or certain bacteria. Kasi, true spores or endospores, nakaka-withstand sila from series of heating and boiling. Now guys, remember na hindi lahat ng microorganisms or bacteria mayroong spores or endospores, okay? Ang nagpo-produce lang ito ay yung mga aerobic Bacillus and anaerobic Clostridium. So sila lang yung mga mayroong spores or endospores. Guys, let's have the classification of spores according to location. So we have 3 classification of spores according to location. So we have the terminal, central, and subterminal. So for the terminal guys, so ganito yung mukha niya, ganyan. So ang terminal, ang example ng bacteria na may terminal spore, you have the Clostridium tetani. Again, Clostridium tetani for terminal spore. Second guys, second location or classification according to location, you have the central. For the central guys, ang example naman niya is, ang bacteria na mayroong central spore is the Bacillus anthracis. Again, Bacillus anthracis. And for the third one, third classification is the subterminal. For the subterminal, ganito yung mukha niya. So, ganyan. For the subterminal, ang example naman ng organism na mayroong subterminal spore ay the Clostridium botulinum. Again, Clostridium botulinum. Now guys, baka ma-confuse kayo. Baka meron sa inyong nagbabasa ng Moraleta. Because guys, Moraleta is one of my favorite books sa microbiology. And yes, very helpful yan siya guys. And baka ma-confuse kayo guys. Kasi kung nagbabasa kayo ng Moraleta, nakalagay doon na ang example ng central spore guys, central spore, ang example ng bacteria na may central spore ay Clostridium botulinum. Kung titignan nyo sa Moraleta, yun yung nakalagay. Pero dinidiscuss ko sa inyo ngayon, ang Clostridium botulinum, yung spore na meron siya is subterminal, not central. Possibly guys, possible, yung kay Moraleta, baka po na ano yun siya, na mistype lang po yun siya, okay? Nag-error lang po ata yun siya. So again guys, please never forget na yung Clostridium botulinum, subterminal po yung ano niya, yung spore niya, hindi po central. Kasi even sa book po ni Professor or Dean Rodriguez na microbiology, yes, yung example niya din is yung Clostridium botulinum is subterminal spore. At nagtanong din ako dati niyan nung na-confuse ako, nagtanong ako sa isa naming staff kasi med student din yun siya at yun nga, tinuro sa kanila sa med school din ng subterminal spore talaga yung Clostridium botulinum. Okay, don't get confused. Now, nandito na naman guys, para hindi nyo malimutan na naman, may ibibigay na naman ako sa inyong technique para hindi nyo mapag-switch or mapag-exchange ang mga to. So guys, unahin natin yung terminal spore. Sa terminal guys, we have Clostridium tetani. So pag terminal na gani guys, or terminal na gani, yes, dapat wala nang iba kundi Clostridium tetani. Terminal tetani. So Clostridium tetani, that's terminal. Okay? Tetani, terminal. Okay? Ganon. Second is Bacillus anthracis for central. Now guys, central anthracis. Okay? Central anthracis. So yun. Pag central spore, wala nang iba kundi Bacillus anthracis. Ganon. And lastly, for the subterminal, you have the Clostridium botulinum. Dito naman guys, hindi siya sounds like, pero ang iniisip ko palagi pag subterminal, for the subterminal, sa word na subterminal, meron kang B at T, di ba? Subterminal. You have the letter B and letter T there. Sa Clostridium botulinum, di ba in between B, okay, meron kang B, you also have B and T, okay? Botulinum, B and T. So pag subterminal, it's botulinum. Clostridium botulinum. Kasi you have B and T, letters B and T sa subterminal, you also have letters B and T sa Clostridium botulinum. So ganun lang guys. Ganun ko siya minimemorize para hindi ko siya mapag-switch. Okay? So I hope makatulong yun sa inyo. So yun lang guys, according to classification, yun lang yung classification of spores or endospores according to location. Okay, next structure guys, you have the pili or the fembrae. So what are these fembrae or pili? So these are hair-like microfibrils which are usually produced by gram-negative or flagellated gram-negative bacteria and can only be observed using electron microscope. Okay guys? You can only observe or makikita mo lang itong mga hair-like structure na to using electron microscope. So, hindi pwede yung light microscope, yung common na ginagamit natin sa laboratory, hindi yun. So, you need electron microscope to observe this. Okay guys, there are two types of pili or fembrae. You have the common pili and the sex pili. So, first, the common pili is also known as the ordinary pili. So, ano yung function niya? First function is for bacterial adherence. What do you mean by adherence? This is the attachment, also known as the attachment. Okay? So, ang function ni common pili is tumutulong siya para sa attachment ni bacteria. So, for example, this is the surface and this is the bacteria, which is ito yung kanyang mga pili. So, ang common pili, ordinary pili, siya yung tumutulong para yung bacteria mag-adhere sa surface or mag-adhere sa host. Okay? So, for adherence, para mag-attach siya, okay? That is common pili. First function. Second function is contribute to virulence. What do you mean by virulence? If we say virulence, guys, ito yung process in which yung bacteria or yung organism mag-a-attack siya sa host, okay? I-a-attack niya yung host. Okay? Now, your common pili or ordinary pili, siya yung tumutulong sa bacteria para maka-attack sa host, okay? So, those are the two functions of your common pili. Again, for bacterial adherence and contribute to virulence. Now, let's go to the second type, which is the sex pili. From the name itself, sex pili. So, first function is for conjugation. And second function, guys, is to transfer genetic material. Now, what do you mean by conjugation? Guys, conjugation, this is the union of unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms to share or exchange genetic material. So, yan yung function ni sex pili. So, para yan yung function ni sex pili. Siya yung tumutulong para makapag-transfer ng genetic material sa other organisms. Kasi kung walang conjugation na mangyayari, walang transfer of genetic material. Again, that is for sex pili. Ang kanyang function, dalawa, for conjugation or bacterial conjugation and for the transfer of genetic material. So, yun lang guys. Next structure guys, we have the flagella. So, flagella guys, ito siya. Huwag kayong ma-confuse between flagella and fembrae or pili, okay? Kasi yung pili or fembrae, yun yung mga maliliit na hair, parang hair-like structure. While this flagella, this one is yung mga mahahaba. So flagella, these are thread-like appendages made up of protein, which are responsible for the motility of bacteria. So ito yung responsible sa motility or yung sa movement ng bacteria. Now there are types or classification of flagella. Meron tayong 5 classification of flagella. We have the Atricus, Monotricus, Amphitricus, Lupotricus, and Peritricus. So number 1 classification, you have the Atricus. What do you mean by Atricus? Atricus guys, di ba may prefix siya na A or A, which means without. So, Atricus without flagellum. Second is the Monotricus. So, mono means isa. So, isa lang yung flagellum niya. So, single flagellum on one end. Third, we have the Amphitricus. Amphitricus, guys, single flagellum on both ends. So, yung Monotricus, single flagellum on one end. Sa isang end lang. And for the Amphitricus, single flagellum on both ends. Third, guys, is the Lupotricus. Lupotricus, guys, group. Lupo sounds like grupo, okay? Lupo sounds like grupo. So, Lupotricus or group or tuft of flagella on one end, okay? Tuft or group of flagella on one end. So, one end lang siya, okay? That is Lupotricus. And lastly, you have the Peritricus. What do you mean by Peritricus? So, flagella, nagsusurround na siya sa entire surface, okay? It surrounds the entire surface. So, flagella around the surface. So, those are the classification of the flagella. You have the Atricus, Monotricus, Amphitricus, Lupotricus, and Peritricus. Next guys, the second to the last cell structure of bacteria is the capsule. So you have the capsule. Capsule guys is a gelatinous or slimy gelatinous material. So its function is to protect the bacteria from phagocytosis. What do you mean by phagocytosis? Diba sa immunology? If we say phagocytosis, this is a process in which the phagocyte will engulf or digest a foreign substance or organisms. Okay, for the phagocytosis, example, this is your neutrophil and this is your organism or foreign organism or the bacteria. So your neutrophil is the phagocyte So it will engulf or digest the bacteria. That is phagocytosis. But if the bacteria has a capsule, meron siyang capsule, that slimy gelatinous material, it will protect the bacteria against the phagocyte. Okay? But take note, hindi lahat ng bacteria merong capsule, okay? Hindi lahat ng bacteria merong capsule. Pero pag may capsule yung isang bacteria, pinoprotect siya against phagocytosis. Okay? So that is the function of the capsule. Now, lastly, finally, the last cell structure is the cell wall. Guys, what is the function of this cell wall? So, this cell wall, guys, siya yung nagbibigay ng shape sa bacteria. Okay? Anyway, cell wall, this is a rigid structure lying between the capsule. Yung capsule kasi siya yung nasa unahan capsule and the cytoplasmic membrane. So, nasa gitna si cell wall. So, in between siya ni capsule and the cytoplasmic membrane. Ano yung function niya? So, it gives shape sa bacteria. Okay? Nagbibigay siya ng shape. And aside from that, it protects the bacteria. So, para siyang guard, okay? Siya yung guard si cell wall. So, before niya papasukin yung mga molecules, i-check niya muna. So, parang i-check niya muna, ay, okay, kung pwede to siya, papapasukin niya. Now, cytoplasmic membrane naman, di ba? Siya yung selective permeability. Although, ang nag-check sa una, kasi nagpo-protect ang nagpo-protect is si cell wall. Pinoprotect niya yung organism. Now, si cytoplasmic membrane, after niya, pag na-protect na ni cell wall, for example, may papasok sa cell ng bacteria, may papasok. So, syempre, kung phagocytes yan, kung yung papasok is phagocyte, then si capsule, siya yung magpo-protect. So, ipoprotect niya si bacteria para hindi makalapit yung phagocytes. But if hindi yan phagocytes, certain molecule yan na okay lang na makapasok, hindi naman toxic, so papasok siya doon, si cell wall, pagdating kay cell wall, i-check niya. Para kasi siyang guard, so i-check niya yun. So, yun yung function niya, give protection. Then, so pag makita niya okay naman, so papapasukin niya. Pagpasok naman niya, doon na lalabas si cytoplasmic membrane, okay? Now, si cytoplasmic membrane or the cell membrane, di ba siya yung selective permeability? Although kung na-check na doon ni cell wall, now si cytoplasmic membrane, siya yung magsaselect kung papapasukin niya ba or hindi. So, ang final say is na kay cytoplasmic membrane pa rin, okay? So, yun lang guys, yun lang ang function ni cell wall. Again, it gives shape for the bacteria and also it protects the bacteria. So guys, yun lang for today. And I hope may mga na-learn kayo sa ating discussion today. And please do not forget to read your books and notes and yun, study hard.